Bismillahi wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to our session on the promises of Allah, a series that we do every Mondays and Wednesdays, and we go over the promises that Allah has mentioned in His book, the Quran. And this is something that we're doing step by step. We started from Surah Al-Baqarah, and now we are currently on Surah Al-An'am. So if you have not, or you have missed out on the surahs from Surah Al-Baqarah all the way to Surah Al-An'am, then please subscribe to Epic Masjid. Go ahead and check out the playlist, inshallah, and you will see about 4 classes we've done on the promises of Allah from the beginning of the Quran. So this is a suggestion that I would like for you girls to do, which is basically have your own Quran out in front of you, right? And the reason why I would like for you to have your own Quran out in front, and of course, absolutely have that with an English translation or whatever translation you're most comfortable with. And the reason why is because I want us, all of us, to have that special connection with Allah through us physically opening up that Quran, right? I know we have that Quran up on our, our phones, and, we've got it on our laptops, and inshallah, I'll also be showing you the ayahs on the screen. However, I feel like let's just physically open up that book now, right? Inshallah, Ramadan is coming up, and we want to open up that book as much as possible. So that is a suggestion, inshallah. If you all could just open up that Quran, inshallah, and follow along from there. So we are going to first go over what we have taken so far. All right. We have completed Surah Al-Baqarah. And again, you can go ahead and view the previous classes if you would like to hear the explanation for all of these that we've done. And we've done Surah Al-Imran. We've taken one ayah from that. And Surah An-Nisa. And last class, we took one ayah from Surah An-Nisa and Surah Al-An'am. And I want to just highlight Surah Al-An'am once again because the ayahs, subhanAllah, it was so beautiful, right? And if you see from this chart that we've got here, it's all about our action first and then the promises that Allah tells us once we've taken that action. So it's not going to be Allah going ahead and fulfilling that promise without us acting upon anything, right? It has to be us taking that step first, and then Allah promises something that it just blows your mind, subhanAllah, how big this promise actually is. It might feel like, oh, it's not a big deal, but reality is that it is a big deal, that Allah is making this promise to you, not to anyone else. Because again, the Quran is not it wasn't just for the Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? It's not just for your mom. It's not just for your dad. It's not for your grandma or granddad. No one. It focuses on you. And that's what you have to look at the ayahs in the Quran and put yourself that, okay, this ayah, how is it relevant to me? How is it related to me, right? It may not be relevant at that very moment, but it definitely is for the future, right? So you have to think about how it relates to you. So we took in Surah Al-An'am, and we mentioned that if we follow the path of Islam, what is going to happen, right? If we follow the path of Islam, follow the path of Islam and the Quran itself, then paradise will be our home. And then number 2, that Allah will be your wali. What is a wali? Allah will be your friend in Jannah. Can you imagine that, right? That the one who has given us so many blessings, that we truly do not deserve it, if you really think about it, right? Do we really deserve this? That we're not praying on time, right? We're neglecting our salah. We're disobeying our parents. We're not interested in Islam. We are actually afraid to be called a Muslim, or we're not proud to be a Muslim, right? We're not wearing the appropriate clothes that we should be wearing. right? All of these things, it's something that you have to reflect on. Think about it. That if we follow the Quran, what will happen? That Allah will be our friend. Allah will be our wali. So inshallah now, we are going to take new ayahs. Okay. And this is in Surah Al-An'am as well. This is ayah 155. All right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وهذا كتاب أنزلناه مبارك فاتبعوه واتقوا لعلكم ترحمون. All right. So we just actually talked about this just right now, and we're going to go into a little bit details now. So, and this, specifically the Quran, is a book we have revealed, which is blessed. So follow it and fear Allah, that you may receive mercy. So let's break this ayah down now. When we say that follow this book, right? It's not about picking and choosing whatever, oh, these ayahs are relevant, like maybe, for example, certain ayahs that's related to me, but certain ayahs, no, that's not related to me at all, right? We can't pick and choose what's in the Quran. We can't pick and choose what's in the ahadith, right? It's both. It's not just what's in the Quran, it's also in the ahadith. We have to follow. We have to understand that there's a reason behind why this has been sent down on us, why hijab is compulsory, why it is an obligation, right? Even if you don't wear it, we have to realize that I'm not wearing my hijab because I am not wearing it. There is something wrong with me. It is me. It's not that Islam is at fault, right? And inshallah, that's where we all have that intention. At least have that intention that, okay, if I'm not wearing my hijab now, but inshallah, Allah give me that strength to wear it one day, right? Again, this is us forming that connection with Allah through this, that you know that it's not false, that the obligation, that law is not something that's made up or non-existent. You know it is the truth, but you also know that it is you who is weak, right? Admit it. It's not, and then there's nothing wrong. And Allah wants you to admit it so that He can help you. That say, Allah, I am weak. I truly am weak. I don't know how I can take this next step of wearing my hijab. I don't know how I can take this next step of actually opening up the Quran. I don't know how to take this next step of praying on time. You have to ask Allah. Once you ask Allah, it makes it easier for Allah to help you. All He wants from you is for you to ask Him, truly ask Him, right? So when we said that what the book has revealed to us is the truth and it applies to everyone. So when you look at it, see if it applies to you. And then what does Allah say? Allah says, وَاتَّقُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ وَاتَّقُوا. So, taqu, wattaqu, it comes from the word taqwa. Now, for the girls that have taken my classes from September, especially ages 13 to 15, you girls remember we spent months talking about what taqwa was, to the point that some of you, like when I would ask a question, you girls would automatically say taqwa when it wasn't even the answer. That's how much we talked about taqwa, right? But obviously, for the new viewers that we've got who have just started joining in and listening to us, let's go and we won't go into that much detail, but we definitely will touch upon what taqwa is. Because for a lot of us, especially again, as the youth girls, we just know that taqwa is just a word of having faith, of having belief, but we don't know what it truly means, right? So let's go into a little bit details on what taqwa actually means. So when you think about taqwa, taqwa comes from the word, in the Arabic word, wiqaya as well, which means what? To take your precautions, to be cautious to be careful. All right? That is what? A part of taqwa. If you think about it, when you have taqwa, when I say that I have taqwa, it is to be conscious, right? Not only being conscious of Allah, but it's also to go ahead and say that, okay, I know this is wrong. I know I should not be doing this. So I have that fearness, that God consciousness, that Allah is truly watching me, right? That Allah is there. And that is what taqwa is all about. To have that consciousness that anything that I do, there is so much more than just me doing an action. It is actually thinking about Allah. When we were kids, we always used to hear from our parents that Allah is watching you, Allah is watching you, till now. Don't you know that Allah is watching you, right? But think about in your heart, when you're about to do something, do you truly say Bismillah when you're about to do something you're not supposed to be doing? Do you go ahead and think about Allah at that moment? Obviously, we don't, right? When we're doing something we shouldn't be. And why is that? Because the opposite of taqwa is following your desires. That is the opposite of having taqwa. To follow your desires, to follow your nafs, right? So especially when we go ahead and we do something, right? We do anything against what Allah has told us, or anything that could possibly make him upset, right? And it could be anything at all, a range of things, the smallest thing, right? Smallest thing like what? Not cleaning up your room when your mom told you to, not helping around the house, just being so like that with your parents, right? These steps are what? Are actually following our desires, following our inner self, our nafs. And that is what we have to have, that self-control. So think about this again. Ramadan is coming up, right? Ramadan is coming up, and we know about that hadith that the shaitan, right, the shayateen will all be chained up. But then at the same time, why is it that we see so many things that we know will displease Allah? That people are still swearing, right? People are getting upset, cranky, right? And they're fighting and they're arguing with each other while they're fasting. They're breaking their fast. Why is all of this happening? So the question is, because it's not the shaitan anymore. It is your nafs. It is your inner desire, right? And what does Allah tell us in the Quran? That fasting has been prescribed for you so that you may become amongst the muttaqeen. Who are the muttaqeen? The ones who have taqwa. Okay, well, what does that mean then? The ones who have taqwa, are they like a higher level that we as the youth cannot even reach there? Absolutely not. You can reach there. Absolutely. You just have to control those desires, control that nafs, right? And that is how you will achieve. You will be able to be amongst the muttaqeen, right? And another thing that I want to mention about having taqwa, it's not only also about you, the opposite, which is following your desires, but it's also changing yourself, reforming yourself, improving yourself. That is what taqwa is. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, when I have taqwa, I will want to be better. I know I am not perfect. Having taqwa does not mean that you have achieved a level where it's it's perfection, where you're a perfect Muslim, that you do no sins. No, that is not what taqwa is. Taqwa is that you're trying, even those small things that you're trying to change about yourself, but you're trying to be, positive. You're trying to improve yourself, right? I had a lot of you girls come up to me and tell me that Ramadan, we won't be able to spend it in the masjid anymore. So pretty much Ramadan is canceled. And I'm like, no, Ramadan is not canceled just because we're not coming to the masjid. You have to think about, where is my taqwa? Where is my faith in Allah? Yes, absolutely. It is, it's disheartening. It's heartbreaking over the fact that we won't be able to come to the masjid and have our all-nighters and spend time in the youth lounge, right? But still, we have to have that taqwa. We have to have that consciousness of Allah in our hearts, that it doesn't matter if I cannot come to the masjid, I will still do my very best to make this Ramadan the best Ramadan from last year. So better than last year. That is what we have to achieve. Instead, if we say, oh, Ramadan is canceled, so whatever, I'm not going to fast, I'm not going to pray, I might pray my tarawih, maybe not, whatever, or be lazy in your prayers because you don't have that push. Absolutely not, right? That's where we have to stop and control our desires, our nafs, and instead try to work towards having taqwa. And this in itself is having taqwa. When you're trying to improve yourself, you're trying to reform, be a better Muslim, taking those chances. Again, programs like these, right? Our daily life programs that we have, whether it be, for the youth program for this time, or on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is all ways to help you become better, ways for you to get that connection with Allah for 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. So that, inshallah, when you open up that Quran in Ramadan and you read those words and you look at them, right? The Arabic word, and then you look at the English, and then you start to think, and your mind is actually reeling. That is what it means, that this Quran is a book we have revealed, which is blessed. It is Mubarak. So follow it. Mubarak. How is the Quran a book that is blessed? Not just by reading it, but by understanding it, by thinking about it, thinking about the ayahs. And then ask yourself, how is it relevant to my life? Right? These are the steps to actually following the Quran. It's not just us, okay, I have to finish the Quran, I have these many pages to finish, and then bam, done, end of the month. Right? Yes, absolutely. That's an accomplishment, doing tilawah, reading Quran. But let's not just only keep it at that. Let's go ahead and think about those ayahs and reflect on it. And again, that is the purpose of this class. Not for us to go ahead and finish all the promises in 2-3 weeks, but more for us to reflect. All right, so now we're going to go on to the next ayah of Surah Al-An'am. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها وهم لا يظلمون. Right? So whoever comes on the day of judgment with a good deed will have 10 times the like thereof. And whoever comes with an evil deed will not be recompensed except for that one evil deed, and they will not be wronged. What does this ayah mean? SubhanAllah, if you think about it, read just the Arabic bit and understand. So, وَمَنْ جَاءَ بِالْحَسَنَةِ فَلَهُ عَشْرُ أَمْثَالِهَا. So one single good deed, you will get 10 times that amount on the day of judgment. And one sin will not be 10 times that sin, no matter how big that sin is. But instead, what will it be? It will be the fact that you will get only that one sin, and that's it. Because Allah is just. Allah is just, right? And He is showing His mercy. That's how merciful He is. SubhanAllah, you can see Allah's names in these ayahs. In this ayah specifically, you can see Allah Ar-Rahman, right? He is showing His mercy. Ar-Rahim, even more mercy to the believers through this ayah, because He is not unjust. Allah is just, right? So let's now, whatever's happening around us right now, whatever's happening with our situation at home, right? Or with our friends, or with our parents, or with anyone else outside, you have to realize that Allah is just, right? And on the day of judgment, if something's happening to you, if something negative is happening to you, for sure on the day of judgment, you will not be questioned about it. But instead, think about this. So when you do a good deed, now let's talk about any good deed that you do. The smallest good deed, you will get 10 times that amount. But if you do that one sin, you will get only that one sin, and that's it. These are all things, again, to show that Allah will never, ever want us to go down a path that He knows that will be away from Him unless we absolutely are completely following our desires. So unless we go ahead and not have that taqwa in Allah, not have that faith in Allah, not have that consciousness in Allah, then Allah will say, okay, here you go, here's that road. But instead, even a little bit, even a small step is all the step that we need to take in order for Allah to help you improve yourself. And I wanted to also mention another part of taqwa. Obviously, I wanted to emphasize on what taqwa was because, again, we use this word in a manner that we feel like, again, especially for the youth, that we can't achieve that level, that having taqwa means being so pure, being completely 100% away from sins. And that's what we're trying to tell you, that no, that is not what having taqwa is. Having taqwa means that you have the love of Allah in your heart, even if it's just a little bit, right? That love of Allah. Having that hope in Allah, hope in His reward, right? Hope in being in Jannah with Him and having Him as your wali, as your friend. Having this kind of hope. Having hope in Allah that inshallah for sure your Ramadan will not go to waste just because the masjid is closed down. Just because your friends cannot come to the masjid and we can't have our all-nighters and can't have that spiritual hangout that you were so looking forward to. But instead, let's depend on the fact that, okay, now that we are at home, how can I still have taqwa? How can I still improve myself, right? And it's those things that we want to do. Taqwa, again, is going against your desires, going against your nafs. So it's that little bit of push. Yes, it does involve a lot, actually. It does involve that self-motivation to have that self, like, okay, I can do this, that desire, right? But at the end of the day, when we do, then Allah will tell you that you have achieved that taqwa just by taking that small step, right? So inshallah, we will end here. So today's lesson, pretty much our take-home lesson, is having taqwa. Having taqwa, having that inner love for Allah in our hearts, right? Any action that we do, we try to have that, okay, how am I pleasing Allah from doing this, right? And as Ramadan is coming closer and closer, right? We have like about 2.5 weeks, I believe. It's 15, 16 days left, right? So how can we achieve that taqwa, even if it's just a little bit, so that inshallah this Ramadan will truly be the best Ramadan from all our other Ramadans, just because the masjid is closed, we're not going to make it useless. We're not going to make this Ramadan like as if it had no meaning to it. right? And that's where we ask Allah, Allahumma balighna Ramadan, Allahumma balighna Ramadan, Allahumma balighna Ramadan. May Allah allow each and every one of us to reach Ramadan, because we truly do not know if we'll even be able to reach Ramadan, to the day of Ramadan, right? And we ask Allah to allow us, to help us to get that taqwa, to help us in understanding what taqwa is all about, to open our hearts, to open our minds, so that when we have that realization, that we can go ahead and ask Allah more and more, because Allah wants us to ask Him, right? So inshallah, we are going to end here. Jazakumullah khair to you all. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما.